Hello everybody and welcome to another one of those videos where I just stare into the camera and talk. So people have asked me a couple of times what my plans are for adventure mode, whether or not I'm doing tutorials. So I figured I'd just kind of make a video entitled My Plans for Adventure Mode and just kind of get all of the questions of what my plans for the release, or I guess that patch cycle are. So I'm of the opinion that as Dwarf Fortress has been out for, I guess, a year and a half on Steam now, it's not been feature complete. It's not a feature complete game until it has all three modes, and it's still missing adventure mode. Now, adventure mode is currently slated to release in April, and everything that I've heard behind the scenes and publicly has been that they are on time. So it is looking like the release is going to be April. At some point in April. This is kind of like a checklist, and I'll elaborate a little bit on some points of things that I'm going to do as part of that release. And keep in mind, I am not affiliated with Bay 12 officially in any real respect. I've done some like grunt work for KitFox. I've made some, they commissioned a couple of my tutorials for their channel, which you can go see on their channel as well. And that's about it. As far as like direct like contacts I have with Bay 12, like I speak with people, so I send people emails and I get people on for interviews. So aside from that, I'm just one dude working alone. So it just kind of is what it is, and I will do my damnedest to get as much stuff out around April as possible. So before the patch, I've been streaming like some adventure mode stuff. I've also been playing adventure mode off stream, and my goal for that is to just kind of relearn, I guess, as much of adventure mode as possible. I know enough about adventure mode to be competent, not enough to be what I would describe as an expert. It's funny because like when it comes to fortress mode stuff, I would describe myself as an expert to a degree, but when it comes to adventure mode stuff, I know my way around. I can play the game, but that's kind of the extent of my experience. So I've been doing some of that, and I'm kind of taking a little break right now because we are in an experimental patch cycle, but once that the current patch cycle that we're in is kind of done, and I find myself with a little bit more time, probably a little bit closer to mid-March, I will be starting to stream some adventure mode stuff from version 47 again, which is the last major patch before version 50, which released on Steam. So I will be doing a little bit more of that leading up to launch. So if you enjoyed those, or if you enjoyed the edited down, like kind of let's play style of like stream editing that I did, I will likely have one more of those before launch, as well as a couple more bigger videos, I guess, like possibilities of adventure mode, which was a little video that I put up not too long ago as well. Then sometime in March, I want to have Zach and Tarn on the stream again to do another Q&A. I'm still aiming to just keep those going quarterly, so that's about the next one, because the last one was last year, at the end of last year, so in November, if I'm not mistaken. If we don't have a release date yet, my eye is itchy, and I've been making hot sauce all day, so the result is if I scratch my eyes, I might mace myself. By mid-March, that'll be a good time where hopefully, if we don't have a release date yet, we'll at least have like a solid release window, maybe trailers, maybe we'll have seen all the screens by that point, so there will be a lot of stuff to talk about. And I think that's going to be a good timing spot for that. Now, the week before lead up, I've kind of heard from behind the scenes that it's very likely that I will get some sort of like ability to play early. I don't know if they'll let me stream it. I don't know what the rules are going to be. I've just basically had confirmed that I'm going to have some sort of press access in advance of the launch of adventure mode. So that'll be nice. That'll give me a chance to, at the very least, play behind the scenes and start recording and working, or even better, if I can just stream it. But who knows what they'll let me do. So that's kind of up in the air the week before launch. And then on launch day, to those of you who are subscribed to this channel, duck for cover, because I'm going to do what I did the last time, which is have like 15 tutorials in one day. So it's just going to be a wall of quick tutorials. I'm going to do the kind of exact same stuff. As I've been practicing adventure mode, I've been taking notes on things that I want to cover in the quick tutorial format. And honestly, I've got a pretty good list down. If there's anything specific you want to see in adventure mode quick tutorial format, just let me know down in the comments so I can add them to my list. And then the next thing that I want to mention is I also will be doing guides. Now, I kind of put my sort of content in two different hoppers. There's the quick tutorials, which I need to do some new ones now that the UI is changing with the next patch. Once that comes out, I have to do a new one on Burrows, actually. I have to update that one. But the quick tutorials are basically like I try to keep them less than 10 minutes, as short as possible, with as much information as possible, covering one very specific topic. That's my dehydrator. I have to go, and it's that. I'm making chili flakes in the oven, so it's something I have to pay attention to with pretty rapid timers every 15 minutes. So that's why I had to vanish for a second. I kind of put my content into two big hoppers, right? There's guides and there's tutorials. Now, the tutorials are rapid fire, right? And then there's guides. I will also be doing some guides for adventure mode. Now, guides are probably going to cover things like character creation. They're probably going to cover things like the basis of like getting started. I'm a little bit curious because I have no idea what their tutorial structure is going to look like. I know that they, in the last post, they talked about like demigods and various other things. So I'm not entirely positive how that is going to end up playing out versus my guides. So I that's something that I'm a little bit hesitant on. But again, if you have ideas for things that you would specifically like to see in a more overarching format, things like base building would probably get that. Although it's still not positive. We're not positive whether or not that's going to make it into launch. It's a pretty bare bones feature, even though it lets you build actual structures. So I'm curious to see whether or not that makes it in. And like I said, it's guides are going to be, maybe like a guide on how to assault a certain type of base or something by yourself, or like a guide on how to train a particular skill to maximum quickly. Stuff like that could end up being more of a guide type thing, or taking down specific types of monsters. But that's something I need to get better at myself before I can really think about what I want to do with that. So guides are going to happen, but those won't happen right away. Likely there will be maybe one or two in the first few days, and then a lot of quick tutorials. So things like basic crafting, things like basic survival, basic traversal, finding locations, that sort of thing. The conversations, that's all going to be like quick tutorials, rapid fire, the way I always do. Thumbnails for the quick tutorials, I think I'm going to just have a slightly different color. The Fortress ones are orange. Maybe I'll figure something out. But I'll try and make the thumbnails distinct, but not like different enough that they look like a different series or something. The next thing that I will be doing is I will be doing a guided Let's Play, very similar to what I ended up doing with the Weather Mountain series. Although this time I don't want to just dive. I don't want to do what I ended up doing last time with the Fortress Let's Play series, where it was like a last minute idea thing that I wasn't planning on doing, and people like were asking the first day, and then I started uploading it the second day, I think, if I remember correctly. So I want to have a little bit more lead up time on this one, but I will be doing a kind of Weather Mountain style Let's Play where I'm trying to explain everything as much as possible. The hard part about adventure mode is there is no real overarching goal to work towards. So how long do I run a Let's Play like that is a hard question. Because like a normal adventurer could last 25 minutes or become a god. And it's hard to say. And because there's no real defining line, I have to figure out a goal and then work towards that in a tutorial format, which means it needs to be a goal that I am confident I can achieve without, not. So unlike the Weather Mountains playthrough where I was really confident I could get it done, I have to make sure that like whatever I'm setting out to achieve, I'm confident I can complete it in one try, and I'll probably have to record the entire thing before I start uploading, unlike Weather Mountains where I was doing about 4 episodes at a time. So I'm a little bit iffy on that one. I need to figure out exactly how that's going to format it, but I would really like to do something like that. Once launch is hit, I'm going to do basically a week of solid streams. It's going to be really interesting to see what my stream's cadence is going to turn into, because Fortress mode is popular. People like Fortress mode. And if adventure mode is popular and people end up liking adventure mode a lot as well, it's going to be really tricky for me because you can't have active adventurers in the same world as active forts, which means I'm going to have to be swapping back and forth or maybe have multiple concurrent worlds running. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting for me to figure out a way to keep it consistent from a viewer's perspective, but also schedulable from my perspective without just muddling things up. So that's going to be interesting, and I need to figure out exactly how to do that. Something else I wanted to mention that was brought up in my Discord recently is the idea of a community world. Now, this is something that I did ages ago, and it never really took off, but the idea would be is sort of like a succession fort, but the idea is like you get a collection of community members together, and you each spend a week building a small fort in different parts of the world with the end goal of trying to make an interesting thing for the adventurer. And then somebody like me could go and adventure through them all, or we could just share it with the community and let other people have worlds with designed dungeons in them. Because I think that would be kind of fun, you know? Like, you don't have to make a successful fort, you just have to make something cool to find, right? And this could be like a place where everybody died because a crazy cult decided to set everyone on fire, or a place where it's just like a little tavern, you know, with an artifact in the basement that's locked up, or something cool like that, you know? So I'm curious to see what the community can cook up in that sort of way, and this kind of leads to my next subject, which is the return of the Community Fortress series. So I've kind of stopped doing the Community Fortress series, not out of my lack of desire to do it necessarily. I kind of hit some creative blocks with it, but I was getting less and less forts that were interesting to look at, and I love you guys out there, but just looking at perfectly manicured fortresses kind of gives me a lack of desire to keep doing it, right? Because all that I'm seeing is the most perfection, top end game forts made by people who've spent a ton of time. And that is a cool thing to look at from my perspective, but it gets repetitive, right? Like, you've seen it before, right? The audience that was watching the community forts kind of got to a point where they're like, I could do that. Or like, I'm never going to put the time in to do that. So people stopped watching. So what I want to do with community forts is explore them in adventure mode, because I think that would be cool. And I don't think that would be super difficult for me to put together. It would just be a matter of getting a fort and then wandering through it. So the community fort series is going to attempt to make a proper return around the launch window of adventure mode. However, because I will be super busy likely that first week and a bit making tutorials, give me a little bit of time to get some of those out. But I would like to bring that series back proper and let people send me forts again to adventure through, because then they don't have to be perfectly manicured. They just have to be interesting to walk through. And I think that is a much more interesting way to show off a fortress. And then, of course, after I'm done exploring, do the whole load the save file thing up and take a look at it proper, because I could just, retire the fort and then jump back to an older save where the fort was still active and take a peek. And I think that would be a much more interesting way to keep that series going. It would fix my creative blocks with just having to run through the fort, and also would, give people who don't necessarily have the most manicured fortress, give me some surprises, I think that could be a lot of fun. Also, it could, give me a little bit of a almost Let's Play format for it, which might be more intriguing to a more less interested in the perfectly manicured fortresses style of audience. Second to last thing I want to mention here is last year my stream team organized a hot potato marathon for Dwarf Fortress. Now, this is a charity event that my team runs specifically for RimWorld. Now, annually we raise money for Doctors Without Borders around American Thanksgiving via playing RimWorld in Succession. It's essentially like a Succession fort in Dwarf Fortress, but for RimWorld. And we did that with Dwarf Fortress last year. And aside from some technical difficulties, i.e. the game running really slowly by the end, we did quite well. We raised like $30,000. My channel raised an absurd amount, and everybody had a great time, and the memes have continued since, and people are starting to ask about it again. So I would just like to confirm here, we are starting to plan one. I'm not going to say when, but it'll be after the release of Adventure Mode. And if you're a streamer, if you stream on Twitch specifically, and you're like, what if we could take part in this? I've already put out the early feelers, and we will have a interest form out soon. So keep an eye on, I guess, this space, but more specifically like my Discord and my social medias, and hope to have more information on that soon. Now, the kind of last point I have here is just kind of some housekeeping. The first thing is I basically don't use Twitter anymore. That platform, it's not dead to me yet. I still post my streams when I'm live, but that platform's exhausting. I don't like it. If you would like to follow me on a social media that isn't YouTube or Twitch, and you want to see my pictures of me gardening or cooking or food or going on hikes, or alternatively like information about stuff that I'm up to, Blue Sky is open now. Blue Sky is essentially Twitter, but less crap these days. I mean, it's not perfect. It's social media, right? All social media sucks to a degree. So I would recommend if you are on Blue Sky, or if you're not on Blue Sky yet, it is free to enter now. It's no longer invite only. So you could get in there and follow me on Blue Sky if you're interested. Alternatively, I am on Mastodon. I do prefer Mastodon, but Mastodon's a little tricky for some people. So if you consider yourself to be a little bit of a techie and you can figure out how to work your way around Mastodon, I am on Mastodon as well. So on Blue Sky, I'm at BlindIRL at bsky.social, and on Mastodon, I'm at blindirl.mas. Now I'm like blanking on it. We'll just do it this way. I'm at mas.to/@blindirl. I'll just put links to both of these down in the description. I guess that's why Mastodon is difficult for some people, but I don't know. I like Mastodon. It's good. So yeah, this is basically just me announcing that I'm retiring from Twitter, not YouTube. I have a side project now. It's a weird art project. I have a lot of weird audio gear. Anybody who watches my streams on Twitch will know this. I collect cassette decks and repair them. I've actually bought and sold some. I have a parts guy who buys stuff off me sometimes, and it's become a hobby of mine. You know, I have a soldering iron and a lot of spare parts and things. And there's one sitting on my desk right now, as well as like, I have like 5 things that can play a cassette within arm's reach right now, including some smaller Walkmans. And it's been a very healthy hobby for me, but one of the problems with it is I don't really have any goals with said hobby. So I was messing around with some synthesizers that I purchased on sale a number of years ago, as well as some of the other pieces that I have here, and I've been starting to read online horror and SCP writings and record them onto cassette and put them up in on a second YouTube channel. So there's a link to that YouTube channel in the description of this video. It's not something I'm going to upload to super frequently, but if you want some really weird experimental stuff from me, that would be a place to do it. At this point, I mean, it's not a monetized channel. It's literally just me messing around with some editing stuff and some audio stuff that I don't normally get to mess around with, and some old microphones that I've picked up from thrift stores over the years, just to, you know, have fun and read some spooky stories, because I do that anyway, and I need to practice reading out loud so that when I finally do that boat murdered read through, I don't, you know, fuddle up pronunciation. And it's a good opportunity for me to practice for things like the Future of the Fortress videos. So thank you very much for watching this video. And I know it was a bit of a long one and a bit of a weird one, but that's my plans for adventure mode and some other things that I've been working on. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.